Welcome back, everyone, to Blender. I'm your host, the Housecoat Gamer, and today we're taking a look at my plans, which are all universally going to suck. Alright, I might as well tell you how everything's going to go. You see all these abominations here. Starships that do not belong in the 23rd century. Hell, I'm pretty sure they don't even belong in the 25th as retro throwbacks, but, well, with the exclusion, of course, of the Constitution class, because the Connie is eternal. But all these ships are out of scale. For example, as we all know, the Constitution is 286 meters from the very tip of her saucer section to the very ends of her nacelles. Someone screwed up. Fortunately, my job is not to fix the scaling issue, though that's obviously kind of necessary too. Got to reduce these ships by about 25%. Let's actually check some math here. Because, let's be honest, it needs to be done. So there's a 156 meter discrepancy. So reduce all these ships by roughly 156 meters, or 25% roughly. Shouldn't be that difficult. Reduced by 1/4. Regardless, let's start with the obvious. Starship registry codes. Yeah, I know. All of you are going to be going, registry codes, but TOS didn't care. Yeah, I'm going to be addressing that too. So don't complain. You'll notice here that I have a significant amount of blueprints. All of which were taken from the wonderful site Cygnus X1, which has a not insignificant amount of blueprints for these boats. These are going to be extremely useful. Now, of course, you're all going to be wondering, why are they going to be useful? An excellent question. Fortunately, I have an answer. As you are all well aware, registry codes are how you date a starship. I do not kid you. That is how you date a starship. The lower its registry code, the closer it is to the NX class. The higher its registry code, well, quite the opposite. Once it hits 1701, or relatively close to that point, it'll start looking more like the Connie. Which brings us to the elephant in the room. That elephant, of course, being the pre-1701 Connies. And I know a lot of you are going to be going, aha, we got you there, you little bastard. Try and explain that away. Oh, but I've already beaten you to it. After all, there happens to be a little bit of help here. USS Peregrine, NCC 1549, Sombara class. Now I know some of you are going, he hates STD, he's acknowledged a long time ago that it's in an alternate timeline, why is he even mentioning it? Because what exists in one timeline exists in most timelines. For example, as the Constitution-class USS Enterprise exists in both the Prime timeline, the STD timeline, and the Jar Jar timeline with the Art Deco abomination. Good lord. Well, not Art Deco, Hot Rod abomination, but you get the idea. So all of these ships must exist in the Prime timeline, but not as they appear. After all, the Shran is a safety hazard waiting to happen. The McGee-class's warp nacelles are stuck inside the hull, and there are even windows inside. So the question is, whose bright idea was this? Oh wait, I have a pretty good idea. John Eves. Dude, you're an excellent designer. I mean, you're responsible for almost the entirety of post-TNG Starfleet. But seriously, if you're gonna design a starship, design it to fit the time frame. These ships do not belong in the same era as... where is she? This particular boat. But I suppose I shouldn't be referring to this one, because this isn't that boat. Before anyone makes any comments, there's a reason I say this. After all, this is the as seen in series Connie, the one you see in most of the series. There is a different model. The pilot model, which has nacelle spikes, a bigger dish, all that nonsense. So that would be the pilot prototype Connie. That will be the final baseline. However, what is the original Sombra class going to look like? Is it going to look like this abomination? This inbred, someone really screwed up here abomination? No. She's going to look more like this. Note that I said more like, not carbon copy. My plan for the Sombara, which will eventually become the Constitution class, I'm going to be going through a refit cycle with that one. You might like it, you might not. Is the earlier model will look more like this thing. She'll look more like the NX-01, albeit with more Constitution-like proportions because, let's be honest, engineering-wise, you don't... Why make more work for yourself? Just refit the ship using the existing structural members. Do not make more work for yourself. So the saucer section is going to look kind of like the NX, but her proportions are all going to be very close to the Constitution's. That'll be the Sombara Mark I. The Mark II is going to look more like a hybrid of Connie and the Mark I. It'll probably be flat until it reaches this point, and, well, you get the point. She will look like the Connie, but she will not be the Connie just yet. Original Sombaras will be like the Eagle, and maybe the Constellation. The Mark IIs will be ships like, well, what the Farragut and the Farragut was supposed to be, because the Farragut is supposed to be a Connie. I mean, good lord, who the hell decided to screw that one up? I'm not even going to touch the Farragut. Farragut type, so there you go. But depending on registry code for all of these ships, they're going to be going from closer to the Connie or closer to the NX. The Shinzao is probably going to look like an updated version of the Poseidon class, with a few hints of Constitution-esque elements there. And don't think I haven't forgotten about you. My revenge is going to be glorious. Because I'm getting rid of all these cutouts. All these ridiculous elements. Now, I may sound vengeful, and I am, but after 5 years of constant betrayals by our friends over at Paramount, I think I have every right to be a tad bit vengeful and petty. But this will be to the benefit of all Trek fans. I'll also be using some elements of the original, but her plan form is going to match this thing. Which brings us to the Hoover. I think I'm going to make the Hoover saucer first, because, well, she's essentially a crossfield nebula, so why not? The Malachowski, I don't even need to bother with the Malachowski, she's just the Anton. But the rest of these ships? Oh, I'm gonna have some fun with these. Especially the Hernandez. You might like how I deal with the Hernandez. But, first things first, I have to get all my parts ready. Warp nacelles. Constitution-esque hulls. Pylons, saucer sections. This is going to suck. Oh well, it's all going into my parts bin anyways. Housecoat Gaming, signing off.